Hey one, hey all, I welcome you today, August the 2nd, 2020 to Bots at Home. Yes indeed, Bots at Home is basically an online Transformers fan convention with everything going to a good cause. I'm going to have all of the links to everybody that's involved, all the information you need, all of those things are going to be down in the description where you can check out all the content, how you can help with the cause. But what is my content going to be? What am I adding to the Bots at Home fan convention? Well, something that's been a long time coming, maybe even long overdue. It is my custom Deathcobra and Cobrabreast. In essence, I suppose this is kind of rounding out my custom Liokaiser. We're going to look at this guy, we're going to look at what I had to do to customize him, which actually was a bit more than I originally anticipated. We're going to see him with the entire team, with all of their chest minion partners. In vehicle mode and robot mode, we're going to see Liokaiser, with and without this guy. We're going to cover it all in the latest GotBot True Review. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and light them up while you're at it, baby. And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, and L, the Autobot family, Transformers vs. G.I. Joe vs. DC Universe vs. Marvel. And have a look for me everywhere across social media. If you want to help the channel, you can always use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can hit that join button and become a channel member and see what we offer to you through Teespring. But most importantly today, this is Bots at Home time, and the most important thing that you can do today is help out with the cause for Bots at Home. How you can help, where you can donate, all of that good stuff is going to be down in the description below. And this is my custom Deathcobra. He was a long time coming, and I didn't really originally anticipate doing this guy. When I embarked to do a custom Liokaiser, my goal was to get the main 6 members. Now, most of them came from the box set, but I wasn't happy with Desrosiers, or Death Source if you will, and I embarked on doing a custom Liokaiser and Jaguar. I covered all of that a long time ago, and I made all of their chest minion partners, and I showed the combine mode and all of that good stuff. And immediately after, people said, hey, are you gonna do Deathcobra? And I thought about it and I said, maybe if the opportunity comes up, but I'm not holding my breath for it. I also wasn't sure how I would accomplish his chest minion partner. Breast force chest minion partner. There we go. And lo and behold, the more I thought about it, the more I explored, the more I thought, you know what, man, maybe, just maybe, something could be done here. And then I discovered that, to my knowledge, there's never actually been an iteration of this character cast in plastic before. So lo and behold, now I was on a mission. How well did it turn out? We're about to find out when we head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And yes indeed, this is my entry for the Bots at Home online fan convention, with proceeds going to a fantastic charity. Of course, I am sharing this day, August the 2nd, with so many other creators, everyone from Rudy Zizu to Junk Heap Drive, Bisto Yeti, Fingers on Plastic, Kato's Collections, Border Dude, Larkin's Lair, Figure 4, so much more, so many more content all through the day. And this is sort of an addendum, I suppose, to my custom Liokaiser, where I've done all of the members and their breast force partners. Now, it was sort of a long time coming, to be honest with you. I got the Combiner Wars box set way back, about a year and a half ago for Christmas. Not last Christmas of 2019, but Christmas of 2018. And said then, hey, this has great limbs, but that torso with Desrosiers just ain't working for me, man. I'm gonna have to work on coming up with an idea for Liokaiser and for Jaguar. And I came up with that idea, and then I said, wait, you know what? They're supposed to have like breastmaster partners, chest minions basically. I'm gonna have to work on that. So that became another challenge to work on. I looked at that entire set finally after doing it between, say, episode 644 and 651, where I looked at each member with their partner, and then I looked at their combined mode. As a matter of fact, there was also in episode 652, I guess a little bit of an addendum then, because I took Desrosiers, or Deathsaurus if you will, and I had a different idea for him as well. And I didn't think about it at the time to do Deathcobra and Cobrabreast until people saw the customs and said, hey, are you going to do Deathcobra? And I was like, I never really thought about it. I guess I could think about it, and if the opportunity and the right idea and the right plan comes up for him, why not? So I kind of thought about it over time, and eventually we came up with this, which of course is basically an amalgamation between a Combiner Wars Alpha Bravo mold and the recent Slitherfang. Now, I haven't really looked at Slitherfang yet on the channel. We're going to do that coming up very soon, so I'm not really going to spend much time on this little guy, other than kind of very basically, because I want to save my thoughts for when we look at Slitherfang. Nevertheless, this is what we've got, and there's actually more work here. Like, there are things that made this easier for me to do, but there's actually more work here than I thought there was going to be, and a couple of liberties taken that really had to be taken for this to work. So, first things first, since I obviously don't have a package, or I don't have instructions, or any of that nonsense, we're just going to look at Slitherfang first, or, if you will, Cobrabreast. And here we have Slitherfang done as Cobrabreast. Part of the biggest challenge that I had with doing Deathcobra was I couldn't think of something to use as his snake chest. Now, to be fair, I've seen some 3D printed options. I think like Shapeways has like a little chest minion that's a kind of a cobra. It would definitely be small enough to work as a chest minion. And I thought about getting that, but it still wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then this guy got announced, and I was like, I think that's probably going to be the way I'm going to have to go. A, it's certainly cheaper and easier to get, but B, it's certainly more versatile if you want to use it as the character of Cobrabreast. Fun fact, that one episode where Deathcobra appeared in Victory is kind of noted for Cobrabreast only appearing as A, chest piece, and B, like a hand blaster. He never actually appeared in his snake form, and he wasn't even named anything until many years later in like a Ask Vector Prime, I don't know, Q&A type of thing. So he sort of almost retconned, if you will. Basically what I did here was I tried to keep it simple, and I looked at the purple translucent plastic of Slitherfang and said, okay, what would be sort of accurate to do here? Mostly he's green, but his, I don't know, his hood, I don't know what you call those side pieces, were yellow, and I also highlighted the ridges in black. It just sort of stood out to me. So that being said, like, here's the back. So obviously when this guy like opens out into let's say a plank, he's going to now be green. Fun fact, this is actually my second attempt at this. I had one and I accidentally got paint in the pin. Now, I've talked about before when you get paint in the pin or clear coat in the pin, and it can basically destroy the plastic around it. The plastic around the pin crumbled. Luckily, I was able to find a second one. I went pretty much right away and was far more careful. I'm all for you know, using paint, and I'm all for like a spray clear coat, a very light spray clear coat, but you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful not to get it in the pin. That can be very detrimental. Nevertheless, this is Cobrabreast in his Cobra mode. And here we have all of the Breast Force partners together, from Cobrabreast to Jaguar Breast to, I don't remember what the Rhino is called, to Cobrabreast, on down. On the other side we have Hawk Breast on the far end. We have Leo Breast, Lion Breast, I can't remember, and we have Bison Breast. So we have the whole kind of team there. Most of them are made up of Siege Micromasters, most notably the Ravage and Laserbeak molds, though we do have a customized Ratbat in there. But basically this is all of the chest minions. What about the main event? Well, the main event, of course, is Deathcobra himself. Now, there's some stylized things going on here that I need to explain as we kind of move through the modes. I'm not going to waste a lot of time because there's a ton to show, because I want to show them with the entire team, and we'll show Liokaiser and everything. I'm not going to do the transformations. We all know the transformations. But I'll kind of run through what I did and kind of how the scores pan out for this guy, for the sake of as much expediency as possible, I guess. This is a look that is reminiscent of what he looks like when he has the Cobrabreast partner on his chest. By rights, his chest should really just be overall green, and where his combiner peg is probably should be more of like a gunmetal gray or a black. But I knew that trying to put his breast partner on his chest was going to be a daunting task, if not impossible. So I said, you know what, I think I'll do the paint work as if, you know, like the partner was there. Let me show you what I mean. Let's just say that I was going to put this on the chest, and I did consider it. Here is the peg I would have to use. It's the handle of Slitherfang, basically. And it would have to go here. Now, in going right here in the peg, it's kind of partially up over his face, or if I put it down farther, it would be, see if I can do it this way. If I put it down farther, it would like almost go down to his knees. I thought about removing parts of this, and I was like, I don't think that's a good idea either. So I have to find a different solution, and I'll do the paint work as if it's reminiscent of Cobrabreast being on his chest. So that's what I did, where basically I painted the combiner peg green. I put yellow on the two sides here, and I done some line detailing that like kind of mimics the lines there. I had the lines thinner originally, but when I done the custom work on Slitherfang, because the ridges on his hood, maybe it's called a hood, because the ridges on his hood are somewhat thick, I made the ridges on Deathcobra somewhat thick because it's sort of matched. So I did thicken them a bit. The head is from Shapeways. It's a custom head. It, of course, was painted green and yellow. The gray that's on this is a natural gray, so I mixed a glass white and a glass gray to get the right shade of gray for the face of Deathcobra, and I done the fangs, I suppose, in silver, and the little eyes in red. I'm going to do a close-up on the head just so you can kind of see that before we go on. There we go, there's a close-up. Doing the yellow was a bit of a nuisance. The head is in two halves, so I painted the eyes first and then I put the two halves together instead of trying to do the eyes after. The eyes up here I did have to do after, and they were just done honestly with a toothpick, as were the cobra teeth right there in the front. But like, it's a beautiful head sculpt. But here's the problem, because it has the like hood sides on it with the yellow over here, it actually makes the head, though it's proportional in robot mode, it actually makes the head too wide to allow it to transform into limbs or to allow it to really transform into the helicopter. So was there a way to work around that? Indeed there was, but before we get to that, I'm going to kind of give his paint apps a grade now. Might as well get that out of the way. I done as little as possible here with it. I wanted to take a minimalist approach. The green by rights should be darker, a deeper forest green maybe, hunter green maybe. So I did go for a lighter approach. I wanted as little paint rub possibility as possible. And honestly, I had a green on hand that pretty closely matched the green of this plastic. This is a KO of that Alpha Bravo mold that I got from Surtoys. This was $8, so it was something that I didn't have really high expectations of, but a few people have had the CBB KOs and said they're pretty good. This is quite good. The joints are good, the plastic is generally good, except for the nose cone. You can tell that that's kind of cheaped out. And the tolerances are good for the most part. We'll get to that in a few moments. But yes, I did have to do extra work for the head to fit. And even to put the head on was extra work. You see, the stock head that comes on Alpha Bravo or Vortex or whoever is simply on a ball peg. However, on the KO, that was changed. And it's actually on a mushroom peg, not a ball peg. So the stock head can go around and rotate, but unfortunately, it cannot go up or down. That made a challenge for this head because this head was designed to fit over the ball peg of the official Combiner Wars mold. So I ended up having to use some Bondic inside basically the head on the peg, built a ball peg, and I even put a little bit extra on the back of the head of the custom head here from Shapeways to sort of fill it in a little bit. Now it's quite solid. It doesn't look up and down as much as I would like it to, but it certainly goes around and it stays on there very solid now. But I did have to do some work. So if you're thinking about doing this, know that in order to get the 3D printed head to fit, you're going to have to basically do some work with the mushroom peg of the KO, if you're going to go the KO route. Otherwise, you could always take the body of the KO apart if you're lucky enough to get the green one, and you could put an official combiner like peg in there. Or, of course, you can get like an Alpha Bravo or a Vortex mold or something and like totally paint it. If you're just planning to do it for display, that's probably your best bet. For me, I want this to be functional, so that's why I went with this route. In terms of articulation, well, as you'd expect from Combiner Wars, we have a head that goes left and right, and it kind of goes up and down. The shoulders can still go all the way around and all the way out to the side. We have bicep swivel. You can hear that, right? There's a lot of those squeaky joints. Elbow to 90 degrees, but it's solid. We have a, kind of pick that up a little bit. We have a waist on the guy that goes all the way around. It's quite good. The legs can go forward. They're on ball joints. Yes, they're tight tolerant. You hear that squeak. That makes me uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie, that makes me uncomfortable. A lot of people don't mind it because they're used to it with things like fans, toys, and whatnot, but it makes me uncomfortable. They can go back. Same on both sides. We have, of course, our thigh swivel. We have our knee to 90 degrees. The toes can tilt, but of course there's no ankle tilt. Overall, it does everything that the Combiner Wars one should do. Would an ankle tilt be nice? Yes. Would a wrist be nice? Yes. But overall, I'm going to say that his paint apps, though it's lighter, this is pretty accurate. Like the yellow and the green is where it should be, the red is where it should be, the gray and silver is really where it should be. I'm going to say that for looking like Deathcobra, it's a solid 8.5. The green should be darker. That's about it. So I'm going to give it a solid 8.5. I'm going to be a little critical on myself. In terms of the articulation, again, I'm going to say a solid 8.5 and 9, just because I'd like a wrist and an ankle tilt. Outside of that, it's pretty fantastic. So overall now we'll say the guy is getting an 8.75. Not a bad start, man. Not bad at all. Then we get to the transformation, and that's where the problem sort of came in with this guy. Because I was going to have to do some doctor work, so to speak, to make this work. And even now, you still have to be very careful with the way you transform it. You see, in the back, we have, of course, a section where the head should be able to fit down between and roll all the way through. That can't happen here. Let's just bring in Alpha Bravo here as an example of what it's supposed to do. So, just moving this guy over for a moment, by rights, what's supposed to be able to happen is this whole section should be able to flip back, and of course the head goes down here, no problem, in between. And if we're down here, you can see like the head is down here, you know, it's in the slot that it should be. But this head doesn't have those wing pieces, so to speak, on the side. And even then, it's a bit of a, like, it's a tight squeeze. So what was the issue with the KO? Well, if we come to the back and we take a look inside, we can see that I had to do some cutting. If you look at Alpha Bravo, you can see that in the back here, it comes down straight on both sides naturally. The same thing was done on the KO, but if you look at the KO now, you'll notice that at about right there, and same thing on the other side, it's now sort of notched in. That one section right there is what kept the head from being able to go and swing through. Even now, however, it's very, very tight, and you need to turn the head to the side to get it to work. So I turn the head to the side, and I come here, and I delicately bring it down, and delicately bring it through. As you can see, it's very tight, so I am delicate with it. It works fine, but you definitely got to do a little bit of doctoring and cutting in order to get it to work. I just used a little crafting knife, and I just shaved out a little bit, It was easy, it was simple, not a problem to access, not much to cut out, and the plastic there is pretty pliable. The trick is to cut out enough for the head to get through, but not enough that it's going to affect any of the structural integrity that's there. And as you would probably well expect, he does come with a blaster. Actually fits in his hand quite nicely. He comes with a hand-foot piece. Also, it's fine. Its plastic is fine. It's as comparable to any of those hand-foot gun pieces. And here we have him with his entire team. On the far end, of course, Jaguar, then we have Guy-Hawk, then we have my custom Liokaiser, then we have, of course, Deathcobra, and next to him, his undoing Hellbat, or Fellbat if you prefer. Then we have Kill Bison, or Iron Bison if you prefer, and we have Drillhorn. I suppose, since he came in the set, we should technically, at this point, throw in Ion Scythe, because why not? Why not? But Ion Scythe is really more like one of the little chest minions, and speaking of which, here they are in robot mode with all of their partners. Now, of course, as we know, these partners are designed, or supposedly designed, to go added to the chest. And for most of this team, that's true, except for the man of the hour, that being Deathcobra. I had to take some creative liberties there. As you'll recall, I said not long ago that this was a bit too big to really fit on the front. I'd thought about, like I said, removing part of it. I'd hoped that the head could fall down flat against the, like, this part of the body, but it can't. So I had to come up with a different plan. So I decided, you know what? If he can't be Cobrabreast, maybe he can be Cobra Backpack, and hopefully a fairly minimal one at that. So I resorted to coming around to the back and drilling a 5mm hole there. And I take this piece here, and it can fit in there no problem. I turn it around and bring it down, and then I fold this up over and tab it in, and it's a fine backpack. It's not really obtrusive. It doesn't really affect any of the articulation at all, and it fits okay. I think it was better than trying to drill a hole in his arm, because he doesn't have natural 5mm ports on his arm, unfortunately. So I think that works. Plus, I do kind of dig the idea that if I have the guy in battle, we could see if I can do this now as I did it yesterday. He could kind of sort of have he could kind of sort of have his partner sort of come up over his shoulder as like a bite strike type of thing. You know, a little nod there, maybe the quick strike from Beast Wars, maybe, sort of. So it's not perfect, because while I could have used put it in as a chest piece, it would have just looked awkward and too large. So I kind of split the difference and said, you know what, I'll make do with him being a backpack. If you wanted to go with like a 3D printed route and a much smaller snake, hey, you could definitely do something in the chest. If there was a Micromaster that was a serpent, or a serpentine Micromaster, if you will, that would work. But for me, for my purposes, I think this will work. Plus, I have a use for it later on. And here we have the entire team yet again, except this time they have their chest minion partners on their chests, except for Deathcobra. Obviously, his minion is on his back. It is a little bit of a creative liberty that's unfortunate, but you know what? I can live with it, considering he really wasn't supposed to exist at all. And to my knowledge, we've never actually had any iteration of Deathcobra in any form. I could be wrong, but not to my knowledge. So you know what? Considering we've never had the guy, this'll work just fine for me. And when we spring to helicopter mode, this is what it looks like. Now you can actually get feet replacement pieces so that the cockpit sections up here look a little more bulbous, as they should based on the animation. I haven't bothered to get those yet. I don't know if I ever will, but they do exist if you really are a stickler for the helicopter mode being as correct as it possibly can. Again, in this mode we can incorporate his partner by having him be like the landing section. Like, why not, man? As well, originally this tail section I had to kind of leave it unpegged, like it was straightened out as much as it could, but it didn't quite peg in. It was down low enough that this could still spin freely, but it wasn't quite correct. After cutting out those sections, and if you angle the head, and you can probably see here that I have the head at like a 45-degree angle, if you do that and you're careful, you can peg it in. So it does take a little bit of work in order for that to happen. But here he is with the rest of his team in their vehicle modes. And as we go down the line here, you can see the custom work done. The first ones are pretty easy to tell that for the most part they're the stock except for their partners. We keep going down. Here of course we have our boy Deathcobra in all of his glory. We keep going down. The custom work on Liokaiser, and yes, he does still completely transform. And the most stylized member of the team is definitely Jaguar, because he's the core of Liokaiser's body. But you know what? It works. It certainly works for my collection. And their partners can go on them in vehicle mode as well. And boom, just like that, we have him in his leg mode. This would be impossible if I didn't do the bit of doctoring that I did. You can see that the head is a little, you know, like it works fine now, but you got to make sure that the head was on the side. But, you know, we all know that this guy was meant to replace Hellbat, therefore he shouldn't actually be a leg now, should he? Here he is instead as an arm, specifically the left arm. Now, it does have all of the same range of motion as Combiner Wars. Like, we have a bicep swivel because of the waist. If you turn the arm this way, you do get like a double elbow bend because of the knee and the hips. In terms of the, like, you know, outward movement of the arm and whatnot, like, you'll get it. But because the head is custom painted, because I had to do some doctoring work, I would be very delicate with kind of how you move the head. Not because you're going to break anything, because you won't, but you might end up scratching and scraping your paint. I do have a clear coat on it, so it should be okay, but I still wouldn't chance it because of the size of the head. You can get some cool poses, no doubt, but you got to be cognizant and aware that you're dealing with, you know, a custom job here. And of course, last but certainly not least, we need to show Liokaiser. Now this is the way that most of us know Liokaiser to be, with the legs being Kill Bison and Drillhorn, with the body made up of Jaguar and Liokaiser, and with the arms made up of Guy-Hawk, and of course on the other side, Hellbat. But the intention was basically to kind of push Hellbat out of the group, or at least that's what Hellbat thought was going to happen, and replace him with a new arm, that being Deathcobra, so that he could have looked more like this. Which also looks pretty cool if you ask me, man. Here's the thing. If you do like me and use the KO, then you're going to have to kind of resolve yourself, especially if you use the head. If you use the 3D printed head and got to do a little doctor work, especially if you do that, you're going to have to resolve yourself that when you put him in poses and move him, you're going to want to be more delicate with it. It's not that it's delicate and it's going to break or anything, like I said before, but the concern would be that you could scrape the paint on the head. Outside of that, it's pretty fantastic, and I would say that the transformation is again about an 8, roughly. I had to do doctor work here. Without doing that, then the transformation is only like a 3, because he really can't pull off a leg unless you cut stuff away, and he really can't pull off an arm very well. Like, the arm, you could pull it off, but you certainly wouldn't be able to push it out at all, not even this far. So he was getting an 8.75. I'm going to say that the transformation, if you do the work, is an 8. If you don't, it's about a 4. So I'm going to split the difference, say the transformation is a 6. His 8.75 becomes about a 7.75 or so. Considering that this guy is made up of a KO and a 3D printed head and a whole bunch of paint, if we average out the 7.75 and the 8.75, we still get about an 8.25, which isn't too bad for a character that's never had a representation. And here we are once again, and here he is, and you know what? I'm happy with how it turned out. This is the helicopter mold. He's a helicopter. This makes sense. I was very lucky to be able to get my hands on one that was already green, which means when it comes to things like transformation, I have less of a chance of paint rub, which is very important because that could still happen, especially with this head that's a little bit oddly shaped you know, for going into leg mode and arm mode and whatnot. If you don't shave those sections off like I showed, you're not going to be able to at all get him in leg mode. You're going to struggle to get him in arm mode. You could kind of get the helicopter. You really need to cut those sections out like I showed. Even now, it's a close tolerance. It's doable, it's fine, and I don't get any paint scraping, but I wouldn't be careless and willy-nilly with how I kind of transform this guy and how I use him, you know, as a leg and as an arm and whatnot. I would be careful in moving him. I think he's fine. I think he fits the bill. Why we didn't get something kind of real like this, I don't know. I honestly think that this could have been done probably with an alternate, like, kind of tail fin piece to allow a head like this to go through. But you know what? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And I'm happy that I was able to do this. Now, that being said, unfortunately, I wasn't quite able to have his partner affixed to the chest. I suppose I could, but it would have looked very out of place and far too oversized. And while there is a 3D printed option, I think using Slitherfang is probably the better option, because Slitherfang's pretty good. I didn't talk much about him here, but we're gonna eventually, coming up in his own review. But you know what? I think it fits the bill, and I think having him be Cobra Backpack works just fine. Overall, I'm happy with how this turned out. Let me know how you think he turned out and what you would do differently, if anything. I appreciate you coming by, give me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, don't forget that there's a donate link down in the description. You can check us out on Patreon. You can hit the join button and become a channel member, or see what we offer to you through Teespring. Most importantly, today, this is all part of Bots at Home. Check out the links down in the description. Check out the content from creators from the US, from Canada, from the UK, from all over the world, man, as everyone partakes in this online fan convention. See what you can do to help and be a part of it. Don't forget, somehow, some way, each and every single day, man, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here, inside the videos.